Good afternoon. It's Monday, July 24th, 4 o'clock p.m., and this is a meeting of the Room Tax Commission. I have a quorum of members present this afternoon. And item number 1 on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting. That's June 26, 2023. Yeah, motion by Rasmussen,
Second.
second by Lewitsky. Any discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Okay. Item number 2, discussion and possible action regarding tourism grant requests. And we have a few, 4 grants for our consideration this afternoon. Do we want to take them individually? Do we want to work at them as a group? Or does anybody have any questions about a specific grant request? Or how do we want to hit this?
I would say we can go through individually.
Okay. All right, we'll start with the first one then, the Blues Fest. And this one is an additional request. We have previously awarded, I think it was $10,000 to the Blues. Was it
It was
10,000?
9, I think.
9,000?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about it, or?
I'm gonna say out of all these, out of all their budgets, this is the smallest amount. Like the 13,000 is the smallest amount of their total event budget out of all the ones that we are looking at now. So I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I guess my only question, I know that you had advertising of $9,000, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking to do an additional 4?
Yeah, and so since our last request, there's been 2 Blues Fests in the state that have closed. So we're requesting the extra 4 to be able to additionally hit those markets to, target the areas where the Blues Fests have shut down.
That was my only question on it.
Okay. All right, Erasmus?
Thank you. I think that this event is established enough that it's reasonably expected to generate room nights, overnight stays. I would make a motion that we approve this one for the full 4,000. Do we want to vote on them all separate or discuss them all separate? I guess.
It's,
I think that's good.
do you want to vote on them separately, it sounds like?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, all right, well, then I'll-
We'll just do that then.
Okay. Since we only have the 4.
We have the 4, we can
Yep.
move through these pretty quick, so.
Okay.
Okay, a motion is on the floor, would I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Hinkie, any further discussion? And I think you're correct, I think this is a good opportunity to hit a new market, and to really expand the visibility of the Blues Fest, so.
Yep.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, Blues Fest carries. Good deal. Next up is the Winter Brew Fest, and also asking for $3,000. So, any questions about this event? I think we have funded this one in the past, I believe, have we?
Nope, this is our first room tax request for this event.
Okay, thank you.
Specifically.
Thank you.
So just a quick question on that. So this is separate from Winter Fest, right?
Correct,
So,
yep,
okay.
yep.
Because this one, I really think too that we do have, no matter how hard we try, a lull in things to do in the winter when it's cold out. And I do think that anytime we can create events that bring people out in the winter and bring people together, it's a good thing. So I believe we should also fund this one for the 3,000.
Okay,
Where is it?
Yeah, so we are holding the event at Jefferson Street Inn, and it's normally held the night before Winter Fest. So Winter Fest is our family-friendly event, and the Winter Brew Fest is, with breweries, it's a ticketed event and more adult-oriented.
Is Jefferson Street Inn gonna do like a stay and play option, or have you approached them?
Yeah, so they're giving a discount, on hotel rooms to stay there. Last year, we generated at least 20 hotel rooms, is the kind of the number they were able to get us just based off that event. And then this year, too, we also have the capacity to go up to 450 people at that venue. So we're also looking, obviously, to target to be able to bring in more attendees as well.
Perfect.
So.
all right. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve it.
Okay,
Right?
motion by Vandiak, second by
No.
Hinkie. Oh, or did you have a question?
No, I had the motion.
Okay, well, you had the motion.
Yeah.
And then
I'll second.
okay, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Winter Brews Fest carries. Next up is Exhibit Tour. And this is the first time that you've asked for, I believe, room tax money for marketing, so.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
All right. Any questions, Rasmussen?
Thank you. So Exhibit Tour, even though it's established, was on hiatus for a while and then came back and then COVID, and whatnot. So I do think, though, that it has a following, and I think that it has the ability to bring in visitors from other areas. It is certainly a local fan favorite, and maybe one for day trippers as well. When the state law changed that made wine walks legal, its appeal increased, and so when they brought it back and tried it again, it was well attended. I think that to infuse it with a little marketing to increase its reach is a plus, so I would support this one.
I would tend to agree. I think anything that brings people to a downtown district, and certainly, if it's an event where alcohol is involved, you're going to have a greater propensity for room nights. So
True enough.
it's definitely a given there, so.
From the hotel side, 10,000 it's a big number.
Yep.
And we're seeing about 50 stays, on average of tracking. Taking a look at some of that spend, I see that, 2,300 for a videographer, and I understand that can go to future asset and use. What marketing do you see going outside that radius to help drive those room nights? To help kind of replenish the pool, so to speak? Because it is a very local, are we looking at maybe moving it to a multi-day event that could increase that likelihood too?
I think we are just looking at doing a more robust marketing endeavor in general. As Ms. Rasmussen stated, we had a brief hiatus. The last year, we did a lot of more organic marketing, Facebook, Meta, just really targeting more the local crowds. With the addition of partnering with the Wausau Museum of Contemporary Art, we were able to turn this into a juried show that encompasses not only local artists, but state and nationwide artists. So a lot of those stays were those participating artists that then came and stayed in Wausau, many for the first time, probably in Wisconsin even. So I think with a more robust marketing, dipping into television, increased social media, having content made with video and photo for future years, we really just hope that would expand the event, make it larger, allow us to do more targeted marketing in bigger metropolitan areas.
Okay. And so the other thing was, you got 4,100 or 4,300 bucks in wine. How do you get wine on the wine walk?
Well, this is a ticketed event.
Okay. And how much is a ticket?
15 pre-sale, 20 day of.
Okay, and that's for people that are walking through the streets?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and we try to offset some of that cost so the participating businesses aren't putting all of the cost in for the wine.
Okay.
I just have one question. The total event cost is 21,000 and the marketing cost is 10,000. It just seems like a lot of money. Like we're throwing money at the room tax commission, just hoping whatever's going to be funded is funded. 4,300 in TV ads is a lot of TV ads, right? That's a lot of 15-second ads spots. Do you know how many ad spots you're looking at?
I'm not certain what that number would be, no, not right now. But again, some of the funding we are hoping to be more of a future thing and building some of that content. But your question is fair. It is a large marketing budget that we're attempting this year.
I guess I don't have a problem with this year, but next year I don't expect to see the video and the photographer again and fund that. Now we have that established. This is an established marketing thing going forward. We should be really mindful as to you know, how much TV ads we really need. And obviously you need to spend money in order to figure out what marketing worked, what didn't work. Because as you stated, you really haven't, but we just approved 3,000 for the same amount, like same 3-hour time block, right? I mean, and they were somehow able to put their marketing in $3,000 and this one is 10.
Do you, do you get funding from any other sources, grant-wise, from the city of Wausau or finance committee? Is that where it would come from possibly?
The only other kind of grant, I guess, would be the Community Foundation.
Okay.
They did give us an amount.
The River District does receive an annual allotment of room tax out of the city's share of room tax dollars, though.
Yeah, I lend to agree with Ms. Lewitsky on it. I think the only one that I would maybe look to scratch, just out of kind of what we've done in the past, would be the city pages ad.
Okay.
And really take a good look at, you know, hopefully this year's investment and the assets that you're able to get can go to work for next year and you know, hopefully we have a really great success with those TV ads and generate some stays, because it is a great local event, something that I hope others can join. So I would move to approve at 9,300.
Okay. We have a motion to approve this grant in 9,300. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, any discussion on that, on the amended, or I shouldn't say amended, the changed amount? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries at 9,300. All right.
Thank you for your time.
And then the final amount, or the final grant is for the CVA. And this is for, again, a robust marketing plan for, to drive more visitors to the Center for Visual Arts. So any questions on this grant?
This one's hard because yes, they do events and it's not event specific, and you're gonna have the Grand Theater walking in here tomorrow and saying, we are a nonprofit. You just funded the CVA's entire marketing budget. Where's our marketing budget funding? So that it's a hard line. Where's the line? And I'd rather fund individual events or individual things that come directly to it rather than.
If I can add, this is directly funding marketing for 7 separate exhibits. We currently have a $500 marketing budget, and we're bringing in juried artists from all over the country who can stay, as you can see, over 300 last year. So while it seems not specific, it's not a concert, our exhibits and openings come with quite a large crowd. So just to clarify.
Thank you.
Okay, Rasmussen?
Thank you. This is an award that we've not considered an award of this size to the CVA, but if it is seven distinct and different exhibits, it might be something worth trying. I don't know that we would see that same request from the Grand. The Grand is a continuing appropriations entity. They are getting a portion of the city's retained amount every year. CVA is, and the Grand is as well. So, I mean, if this is specifically marketing for the exhibits, they've not tried an effort of this size or reach before. I mean, it does look like, they've had a decent travel radius for where, according to the application, for where people have been coming from. It's just a matter of how much outreach there's going to be. I mean, 15,000 is a lot. I mean, I could certainly see us maybe if we wanted to pare this one down a little bit, because it is kind of a trial.
Yeah, it is. And these exhibits and the receptions that bring the artists and kind of their crowd, so to say, just like a show at the Grand does, they are all free. So our only source of revenue would be grants. Our education department, obviously, our classes you pay for, but anything art installation and exhibit related is free to the public always. So hence the big ask to make a big push.
So with that, is that something like a bylaw related thing, or is that a business model thing?
It is both.
Okay.
Some of our founding funders wanted to ensure that we maintain accessibility to the arts and to public arts, and so you can walk into our galleries free always, and our receptions will always be free. We do have some ticketed events, and obviously education is our moneymaker, classes, summer camps, and things like that. But exhibit-wise, which is what this is written for, are free.
Okay. I think when I was reviewing this, it is a unique one that we haven't explored as much. I definitely can see value in marketing over time. Couple notes that I made are just, I do think that is a little bit of a slippery slope when we get into paying for design service that ties into marketing reach, as well as SEO can get a little muddy. And then I know that part of the strategy, which I'm a big data guy too, but I think that might be something, I sit on the board of the CVB, and we've invested heavily because we've been able to buy things because of our agreements with the municipalities. We have access to a lot of that information, and individual organizations can tap into that and don't need to bear that cost. That's one thing that we've really tried to do is centralize and bring transparency and access so we can grow together. So I don't know how much of that was in here, but I
I
would
think it was 2.
too. So I would look to maybe extract that out for sure, at least until you explore the other avenues in market that are already, for all intents and purposes, paid for you. And Mr. White's here in the audience too, but
This does have city pages advertising in it too. I know you made that modification in the last one.
Right, so in this one, there's a budget for Madison, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, marketing, that sounds great, 2,800. There's social media advertising for 700. I mean, does anyone see anything else that they think is worthy of our marketing dollars?
for the audience, WPR, I
Sure.
think could.
I think WPR is a good venue, certainly, and it's wide reaching.
So we're at 7.
Yep, I had the WPR, the 2,800, the 700 from Meta or social media.
Yeah.
And then depending on, just from distribution, I had 650. I guess I would ask, is that something that you've already encountered the cost on for the tourism magazine? Or is it something that you're looking to do for future?
I'd like to do it again. We've incurred that cost already, but
Okay. Those are the ones that I had listed as, I think, really qualifying.
So
I
then
did.
would it be reasonable to pare that one down to maybe say 7,500?
That's exactly what I
Fund it
had.
at half and then see how it works, I guess, before we would consider it in future years. But, since it is a little bit of a outreach experiment, it's worth trying, but I don't know if it's worth trying to the tune of 15. I'd move that we fund it for 7,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Rasmussen, second by Vandiact on funding the request for the CVA at 7,500. Any further discussion? Hearing anything? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? And it carries. So
Thank you all.
congratulations. So, okay, and
So one thing that the commission could think about, you removed the cap, is coming up with a list of what you think the marketing should entail, which may help eliminate some requests that aren't eligible then. That would be one thing that you could do.
Good recommendation.
Yeah, we could set some criteria. I mean, especially advertising with a hyper-local focus.
Right.
Where we know that most of the stuff locally, the word's already out. That we're looking maybe for the stuff with the higher mileage radius. I think it maybe pays to emphasize that. We could even emphasize that in the application.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Right,
if you
emphasize it in
outline-
the application, and then, we already kind of weight it in the scoring.
Right.
So, but yeah, it would make sense to, let applicants know that advertising with a hyper-local focus is less likely to be supported than stuff with a wider reach.
The other thing we could talk about too is, obviously this is based on actual expenses. We have historically allowed people to receive their funds up front, and then they submit their list of actual expenses, and then we're done.
Yeah.
We'd have to get a refund if they didn't spend it all. We've never had to chase someone down for a refund. I'm just thinking if we, maybe if, I don't know if we want to pay it all up front. Just another thought that I had. I don't know how other people manage those.
I think it depends on the event. Some can afford the upfront outlay and then wait to be reimbursed, and some, maybe newer events that are
Right.
more speculative can't. I think that's, certainly like we just with the balloon rally our funding, asked for, we approved a contingent upon receipt of the expense documentation, just knowing that,
Sure.
we wanted to make sure that it was used for the ads and not for the grant local share. So, I think it makes sense on things, that might be something we want to look at even case by case, just because, some of it they may need it up front, others may not, especially if they're cyclical and repetitive events where there's an operating budget already up there.
Yeah, a new event may not have the cash flow in order to front that marketing, those
Right.
marketing
That's
costs.
true.
Right?
I think there's a lot of value too, just in having that quality control measure in place. I have no reason to believe that anybody would use it, inappropriately, but I think just it's good due diligence to have that. And, that would be, I think, a criteria piece if you're coming back for funding. Did we get the documentation from the previous grant request?
Right.
I think there's a lot of value there.
Well,
And-
did the spend down happen the way we expected? I
Sure.
mean, we also, if we find that's not the case, we could be awarding, the amount that we fund, like up to that amount. And so if we find the receipts are slightly less, if we're on a reimbursement basis, you'd fund whatever the actual was and not the full. So,
I'm just thinking, like, could you do something where they have to submit monthly, so they get a bill, they submit a month draw request, and then we reimburse that, so that it would give them a time to turn around. It obviously would be more administrative work, but it would be something to consider.
Perhaps that's something we could do on a sliding scale too, depending on
could
the
maybe
size of the
have a-
request.
Checkbox, yes, we need a monthly reimbursement, or we will submit everything at the end for reimbursement. That could be added to the,
That'd probably be the easiest method. And then, yeah, if it's an established event, they could probably swing it. If not, then
right,
we can go the other route and then just be a little more critical on how that money is
right. I
dispersed.
don't think any of it should present an inordinately large amount of work. I mean, there's not, even if we added up all the stuff that we fund for the year, it's not really that many, and it's kind of seasonal. So, I mean, if it's something that the finance department is comfortable with tracking, and they putting the extra time in on just to make sure that we're getting what we paid for, I think that's huge.
All right. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll move on to item number 3, a discussion and possible action regarding the next grant application period. And I guess, I think it should be a goal of the committee is to have these meetings at regular intervals. And that's something we talked about last, at our last meeting. And I see in the grant application here, that in the instructions, applications submitted midnight September 18th would be considered at the September 25th meeting. So that would be our next regularly scheduled meeting. And then if that works with everyone.
That works. I think it's important to run a fall cycle, so we
Yep.
may pick up some of the upcoming winter stuff.
And it's good that, if these organizations, if the organizations are thinking ahead, being proactive, like we approved a request for something that's happening in January, which is tremendous. So I want to see people looking that forward ahead, and I don't want to have to approve monies, when we're.
When the event is like Saturday?
Yeah. Then you wonder how that's gonna, how the marketing is gonna benefit. so.
Right, totally.
I also, I like the more frequent meetings. I think we get we have fewer to comb through every time. The first one that I sat in, I think there were 12 or 13 requests. And having 4 or 5, I just think it helps us, audit it better.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of those pros and cons because it does, but they're less competitive then because you have a smaller group and you don't have others to benchmark against, I guess. That would be the opposite side of
I
it.
do like the greater frequency though, because I think then also event organizers don't need to feel like when we only had the 2 cycles for the year, you either had to rush to get your stuff in or wait until it was time again, And so us doing a little bit more frequent cycling of things, I think is easier for all of us. I mean, yes, there's fewer things to stack up together, but then also it allows us to be a little bit more nimble with the consideration of the applications rather than, leaving that twice-a-year cycle in place.
But if we're on a 4-meeting, on a 4-meeting-a-year cycle, that's still, there's still enough
Yeah.
competition between the
Yeah,
grant
it's frequent
requests.
enough, but it's not so far apart that it's
Yeah.
a detriment.
So this is my request. In our packet, in the next time, can we have like year-to-date,
Sure.
what we funded, or
Yeah.
what they asked and what we funded?
Oh,
Is
sure.
that possible?
Yep.
So that we can kind of remember, oh yeah, we only funded this one this much. This one's relative to this, what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Do you want me to, go through and try to come up with a list of eligible marketing and advertising? Or do you want to leave it kind of open right now?
I mean, I like striking them down, honestly, because then they can be creative, and then we can look at them and say,
Sure.
yes, this marketing looks better. I mean, obviously, we can say, yeah, the larger
Okay.
Yeah, I think
outside of 50 miles is better, but
I think it's still about radius, and the one radius more than medium. But I really, the ones that throw me are the ones that are proprietary assets that get to stay with the organization.
Right, like website
video,
development.
website. So there's a lot of, I mean, whether or not we look to do some type of co-op arrangement there, so there's mutual skin in the game, or the city has access to that content for its own marketing initiatives, so we can help grow them. I mean, I think that's a win-win too. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about that, but that's the one that I think is usually every time it comes up, it's a gray area.
Well, in newer events, I think, you may want a different mix of local and wide reach, when something is a new concept that you're trying to attract everyone, not just the larger circle, but on stuff that's well-established locally. I think it makes sense for us to not fund the hyper-local focus when the folks from here are already coming.
But the statutes say
Yes.
purpose is for
Tourism.
out-of-town guests.
That's
Yeah.
right. Right. So, yeah,
So we should always keep that in mind.
right. I mean, we'd want to see a heavier weight on the wider reach, for sure.
All right.
So was one of I know it says possible next grant application period. Are we, as part of this discussion, to move to a quarterly funding cycle, or is it just to approve the September 18th deadline? And
It was just in case you had other ideas of when you wanted to meet. So we did set that at the last meeting, and you could then look and say, I was just looking ahead, that would put us in December for the next, if we did do a quarterly cycle.
Yeah. And I think in the minutes, we said, I think, January, April, July, and October. So,
Right,
And-
so, I mean, we're a little early with the September, but if we would, target for early January for the next one,
yeah,
because I mean, it's hard to gather people in December anyway,
yeah.
then
if-
we'd be on that cycle, the traditional calendar quarters that we would want.
I think if we had a cycle that was like January, April, September, January, April. Where's our fourth one?
October,
October, yeah. That would give us enough of the flexibility, so,
yeah. Well, and starting in January is helpful because that also runs with our budget year,
correct.
so,
so I think that would be good to, like, if we want to make that motion, because everybody's going to go through their strategic planning starting in September and set their budgets, and then we should be able to help them bring in a more well-defined plan and ask in January, I would think.
So you want to move the September meeting to October? Is that what you're saying? Or-
No, I think we can keep the September
Okay.
meeting,
but then hop to January.
and then we'll go to January, and
Okay.
then
Okay, and then,
The organizations can
I mean,
know
we're-
what the new,
okay,
Yeah,
July.
really 3 times. I mean, although we're saying quarterly, it really makes sense. January, because most of the events are in
spring.
spring, summer.
Right.
Then April, you got those trailing ones or the fall ones, and then September would cover
Well, actually, yeah,
winter.
July for the fall events and then September for the winter events. I
July,
guess.
yeah.
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 Yep,
That July was the one I was forgetting.
there you go. The one we're at right now.
Cool.
Okay. So I guess Tim Vaniak made a motion to propose quarterly meetings in 2024. I believe that's what you said.
yeah, my face was that we're already at 2024 discussion. Yes, yeah.
And then one in September, of course, of this year, 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second it? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. So I guess, we can, moving forward, we can expect meetings on those on that type of cycle for next year. So. Okay. And that brings us to the end of our agenda for this afternoon. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Motion by Beniak.
Second?
Second by Hinkie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. So we are adjourned. Thank you.